Hey, what's up, nerds? It's me, Scott, from the Geek Freaks, and today I'm here to talk to you about Cyberpunk's Phantom Liberty DLC. I'm just going to jump right into it. You know, when I'm looking to get a DLC or just any game in general, you know, one of my first questions is it worth it? You know, how much am I getting for what I'm paying? My rule of thumb is, 1 hour of content for every dollar I spend. And Phantom Liberty definitely delivers on that. The main mission itself is going to run you 10 to 15 hours depending on your pacing, but the side missions and side events and all of that sort of stuff is going to run you another 20 hours, generally. So we're definitely over the 30-hour mark for a $30 DLC. I think that's great, because I've definitely been burned in the past where I've bought, maybe it was a $5 DLC, but it also only offered about 5 minutes worth of content. Shadow of Mordor, I'm looking at you. So that's the first thing, that I always look at. The next thing I look at is obviously, is it fun? Is it good? What's the quality like? Sometimes these DLC are kind of slapped together. No, I think CD Projekt Red really time on this. They're definitely trying to make up for that launch. And for me, the setting is great, right? Dogtown, it's a closed off, separate district of Night City. It's considered like an independent entity ruled over by, basically a warlord. To get it, you have to sneak in just to get in. And the first thing you're going to do there is try to save the president, which is a great opening act for the district. It's a high octane, action packed, sort of mission where you're just fighting off waves of enemies. There's a big boss battle. There's some twists. It's a great time. And then you get to go meet the great Idris Elba, which Idris brings, I say Idris like we're friends. Idris Elba brings kind of just a gravitas to the situation that only Idris Elba can bring, he does a great job of connecting with the player, and throughout the game you'll bond with Idris Elba. You'll go on James Bond spy missions with him, and then you'll go to a party. It's very much, they call it the FIA, which is basically, the CIA. It's almost like a James Bond, but cyberpunk, which means it's darker. But he really does a great job just kind of keeping you interested in the people involved. And it does drag a little bit in the middle, I'll say that, as you transition from saving the president to, a new goal. There's some really neat things to be seen here. There's a concert that's really cool, actually, and some new technology. But the main mission, for the most part, once you get through the middle part, it goes right back to just being a great time. There's a lot going on, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. Getting into the side things, it's just a lot of what I've come to expect from Cyberpunk, which is there's a lot of morally gray decisions to be made. Sometimes you're helping people that maybe you wouldn't normally help, or maybe you choose not to. And some of them maybe made the right decision or the wrong decision, and the ending isn't even what you expected it to be. Cyberpunk has a lot of running themes dealing with just the moral realities of life. And not everything is black and white. And Cyberpunk doesn't fail to deliver on all of that, so I think it meshes really well with the rest of the game. That's always another thing I look for. Sometimes DLC, they feel very slapped together. The quality is not the same as the original game, or lore wise, they don't even seem to match. No, Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red did a very good job of making Dogtown feel very much a part of Night City. And the Phantom Liberty DLC as a whole continues a lot of the themes and just the overall atmosphere of Cyberpunk. Now, you can't talk about Phantom Liberty without also talking about the big 2.0 update that came out alongside it. Well, a little bit before. The skill tree, which I didn't hate to begin with, totally revamps it in a really exciting way. It just allows you to bring a much more unique and personal touches to how you want to play the game. There are meta builds out there, and if you don't want to deal with, all of the skills and trying to figure it out yourself, use them. They're great. Maybe you try something out and you decide, I don't like this. You can refund points. As far as I can tell, you get one reset of your actual attributes, which we didn't have that in the past. You had to go through mods and things. Maybe you try something new and you end up you don't like it, or you want to tweak it. They've definitely made it easier to do that. Which I think is great. I don't like when games just kind of artificial barriers to try and just make me play the game again, because I decided I didn't like a skill or something. But it also, it switches some things around. Some things that were in the skill tree before may now be part of weapon mods or cyberware. Cyberware becomes a much, much bigger part of the game, I think, which feels justified. The whole game is people with all these implants and, being chromed out. For me, I just kind of, grabbed my handful of upgrades in the game before, and that was that. Whereas now, I'll spend 5-10 minutes at the Ripper Dock going through different things, trying to min-max, all of my cyberware to get the most that I can out of it. And instead of your armor and your combat stats being tied to, random drop clothes that you find throughout the game, it's now tied to more your cyberware and your perks and your skills and stuff like that. So the best way to become more powerful is to just play the game, which before it used to be a lot of crafting loops. You could find some crafting loops and infinitely craft things until you had fantastic gear that would carry you through the whole game, which was great for what it was worth, because at least you weren't depending on random drops for everything, but wasn't the most fun play style. And that was also how you made a lot of money, right? You craft a bunch of things and then you sell them. Now Cyberpunk has taken that and pretty much scrapped. There are some crafting loops, but they're just really not worth it at this point. The best way to get better gear is to play the game. A lot of gear is tied to levels now. So as you progress through the game, vendors will have newer, better items for you. And you'll be able to use, your money, which the best way to make money is to play the game. You go do a mission, you kill a bunch of people, you loot all their stuff, and then you go sell it for like 50 grand. So instead of just, sitting in a corner by a shop, crafting a bunch of stuff to make some money, you can now just go play the game, make a whole lot of money, spend it on whatever you want, really. And personally, I think that's an improvement. Other people might disagree. I know a lot of people actually enjoyed the crafting loops. And to some extent, yeah, it feels like crafting is now a mechanic that doesn't need to exist anymore, almost, because I've barely used it. Some people will agree with that change. Some people won't. I'm in the camp of, I think it was a welcome change because it gives me more time to just go play the game. Another thing the 2.0 update brought in was vehicle combat. Now, for me personally, I feel like it was unnecessary. Are we trying to be a Grand Theft Auto at this point? I don't know. Or like a bootleg Twisted Metal. I'm not sure. Maybe they're playing with some things for the sequel. I don't know. But it's not bad. It just kind of gets in the way for me, and I'm not excited about it. But let us know your thoughts in the comments as far as the vehicle combat is concerned. I think some people may be excited for it. But that's the only thing that I found that I was like, I just don't really care for this. Other than that, every change is pretty big, and it adds a lot of improvement. Now, I know this brings the argument of, finally, it's been 3 years and we got the game we should have had 3 years ago. And I get that. And it is frustrating that, we have developers, companies that will push for a release of a shell of a game and then, fix it with updates, fix it with DLC, try to milk some more money out of everybody. And unfortunately, that is sort of what happened here, right? But overall, in the end of the day, I'm a gamer and I'm looking for a game to play. And although business practices and the launch failures leading to this point, I may not agree with, I can't deny that the game is a lot of fun and the Phantom Liberty DLC makes it better. And the 2.0 update fixes a lot of things that were holding it back. With that, I'm definitely recommending you try it out. If you already own Cyberpunk, maybe you're hesitant about the DLC, you can still use the 2.0 update, which is also a lot of fun and gives a lot of improvements. And you'll also be able to see, all the other improvements they've done over time. One of the early complaints was there's like 15 NPCs walking around and you'll see the same people all the time. And I feel like they've done a lot to make the crowds more dynamic and to make Night City feel more alive than it did before. Overall, I think we have to mark them down because of just the bad launch and everything else. If Cyberpunk came out 3 years ago the way it is today, I think it would be a no-brainer 10 out of 10. But because of the path, the journey that brought us here, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And I recommend, if you were jaded by the launch and you never gave it a second chance, now's the time to do so. Seriously. It's a lot of fun, and the Phantom Liberty DLC really, really just kind of adds the icing on top, and it's worth every penny in my opinion. So that's all I have for you today, and I'm sure Frank is going to have a great time trying to edit through this, and we'll see you next time.